So welcome back to our political science class today. We already started a chapter yesterday, right? Today we are going to explain about the important aspects from that chapter. Basically, the rule of the Congress government for several years. Okay, and what changes that rule made in India. Okay, and the history of one-party dominions. Soon after independence, we know that Congress made the first government in India, and for 3 to 4 decades continuously they ruled our country. And that period and the political things that would happen in that period, that the things we are going to discuss now, and it is from the textbook directly. Please open your textbook, everyone. Okay, so I already told you to read the first one paragraph. No, first one page, I think so. Right? Have you read it? Okay. Here, chapter two. They're of one-party dominions. Here of one-party dominions. Okay. So yesterday we discussed about different political party situations that existing in different countries. Okay, different countries like a single-party system, bi-party system, multi-party system, and we discussed about almost all the political parties that functioning in India today, directly or indirectly, once they're related with the Congress Party, related with the Congress Party and the national movement. Okay, so you can see you now have an idea of the difficult circumstances in which independent India was born. We know that. Okay, the basic three challenges that we faced at the time of independence. Okay, one is shaping the territory of the country, other is establishing a democratic government in the country, third one providing welfare and the development for each and every sections of the people. So all these things are very difficult, basically. Okay, and the government of India at that time, they faced all these challenges, Okay, so you have read about the serious challenges of national building that confronted the country right in the beginning. Okay, from the beginning onwards, we faced all these problems. Faced with such serious challenges, leaders in many other countries of the world decided that their country could not afford to have democracy. Okay, so number of other countries in the world also faced all these problems. Okay, and they decided that their country cannot afford or cannot exercise or experience democratical type of governments. But in India, we did it. Okay, what is that? Number of other countries also received or they got independence. Okay, but the problem what they faced in their countries made them to take decision that it is not that much possible to create a democratic kind of government on those countries. Okay, but in India the things are different. They said that national unity was their first priority and that democracy will introduce differences and conflicts. Okay, you can see here, faced with such serious challenges, leaders in many other countries of the world decided that their country could not afford to have democracy. They said that national unity was their first priority and that democracy will introduce differences and conflicts. Okay, so the idea of other countries or their leaders, it was their major importance to create a national unity. National unity. Okay, and they thought so. What they thought, if they are going behind this national unity, democracy, it will create a problem for the unity. It will create a problem for the unity. Then think about our country. Okay, what kind of country is this? Okay, number of different kinds of differences are there. Religious based, regional based, linguistic based, casteism. Okay, like that, various problems are the our that existed in our country. Then also our leaders, they took that stand, took that decision. Okay, we will establish democracy. Therefore, many of the countries that gained freedom from colonialism experienced a non-democratic rule. So the textbook maker says that. Okay, what is that? Number of countries they received or they got independence from the colonial rule or they escaped from the clutches of the colonial rule, they give importance for non-democratical governments, non-democratical rule. Okay, it took various forms: nominal democracy but effective control by the one leader. Okay, one party rule or direct army rule. So they use different method to rule their country. What is that? Okay, ruling by a single leader, one party rule or direct rule of the army, like that various non-democratic methods they used. Though they means the leaders of other countries. Non-democratic regimes always started with the premise of restoring democracy very soon. So in those countries, they started non-democratic rule by giving assurance to the people that they will begin or they will give importance for a democratic kind of government very soon. Okay, but once they established themselves, it was very difficult to dislodge them. Dislodge them. Okay, so once they started the administration with a non-democratical government, it is very difficult to go back to or go to democratical one. Okay, so what we understood here, so India born with a number of difficulties, clear number of difficulties comparing with any other countries in the world, any other country in the world. The same time, okay, the 19th century, 20th century, we know that number of countries they got independence, they become free from the colonial rule, but almost all those countries leaders they decided that it is very difficult to establish democracy in their countries. Clear or not? Because they give major importance or main importance for a unity of the people in that country. Okay, and they understood what is that if they are running behind democracy, it will create a problem for a unity. So they give a other type of or importance for other type of governments like a single leaders rule or an army rule. Okay, and all other non-democratic setups by giving promise to the people that within short time we will start a democratic rule in our country. But they proved that it is difficult to start a democratic rule. Okay, clear or not? In their countries. Okay, so coming back to India, the condition in India were not very different. Okay, Indians also, I mean, Indian leaders also thought the same, but the leaders of the newly independent India decided to take a more difficult path. Okay, so other countries they use the simplest or smooth path, but in India we choose the difficult path. What is that? Establishing democracy, establishing a democracy. That is the second challenge that what we faced at the time of independence. Okay, what is that? Establishing a democratical kind of government or democratical setup in India. Okay, any other path would have been surprising, for our freedom struggle was deeply committed to the idea of democracy. Okay, if the government or the leaders took another decision, we can say that it was a surprising one. But okay, here what the decision they took here? Okay, they thought about or they decided we'll start a democratical kind of government. So at the time of national movement also, all these leaders give importance for the idea of democracy. Okay, our leaders were conscious of the critical role of politics in any democracy. So our leaders also know that the importance of political parties in Indian politics. I mean, role of political parties in democracy. So we know that if there is no political party in a democracy, the democracy will not function smoothly. Clear? So political parties are a necessary component of a democratical government or democratical practice. Okay. Next one, they did not see politics as a problem. They saw it as a way of solving problems. So the national leaders, they give a special preference for these political parties. Okay, most of the world leaders, they thought that the political parties and democracy that creating problem. Okay, but Indian leaders, they decided, they thought that it is the solution for all our problems. But political parties and democracy. Okay, there are always different policy alternatives to choose from. Policy alternative. Okay, so people they have number of choices because number of political parties are there. Their ideas, their program, their principles are different. So choices are there for the people. Clear or not? So democracy giving choices for the people. Clear? A, B, C, D. Which is best for you, you can choose from. There are different groups with different and conflicting aspirations. At the same time, we know that a country like India, a vast country like India, a country with cultural pluralities and diversities, here we want political parties to express the aspirations of different groups of people. Clear? What do you mean aspirations? Development goals. Development goals are termed as aspirations. So different groups of people have different aspirations. Okay, women, they have some aspirations. Development goals. Farmers have some aspirations. Industrialists have some aspirations. Okay, different caste groups have some aspirations. Okay, And all these aspirations are sometimes will come as conflicting developmental goals. Okay, conflicting development goals. Okay, conflicting aspirations. One person's development goal will create a problem for other person's developmental goal. Okay, or one group's developmental goal will create problem for other groups development goal. So in democracy, the different political parties are able to solve such kind of issues. How do we resolve these differences? That is the question. Okay, how can we solve these issues between the people or groups of people? So democratic politics is an answer to this question. What is that? How can we solve the issues between two different groups of people? It is only through democracy. Only through democracy. So I'm taking you people back to class 10, chapter 1, power sharing, right? We studied that chapter, power sharing. Okay. What is the importance of power sharing? Okay, sharing the power equally among the different sections of the society to avoid conflicts, right? Only a democratic government can do that. Okay, a dictatorial government or a militia type of government or a monarchy or an autocracy, such kind of governments are unable to solve the problem of a country, okay, very easily. But a democratic government can do that. Here, democratic politics is an answer to the question, while competition and power are the two most visible things about politics. Underline that. What are the two most visible things in the politics there? One is power, the other one is competition. Competition. Okay. Nowadays, we know that strict competition is there between three different political alliances in Kerala or political fronts in Kerala, right? But just remember or just think about the Kerala politics now, because the legislative assembly counts, election for the legislative council is going on. Okay, the procedures, okay, campaigning, it is going on there. So election within short time, right? Within 1 or 2 months, we are able to understand which government is going to rule our state there. Okay, so all these front like LDF, UDF, and NDA, they are fighting like anything, right? They want to grab power, hold power in the government. That's what the main aim of a political party: hold power in the government. Clear or not? Okay, so sometimes you are able to read the newspaper that the number of newses related with this competition. Okay, some newses are related with the healthy competition, some are related with what? That are creating problems in the society, political division and conflicts. Clear? Okay, some of such newses we are able to read. So in a democratic type of government, we are able to find such kind of things, the competition and the power. Okay, the purpose of political activities and should be deciding and pursuing public interest. Okay, underline that. The most important purpose of the political activity is nothing but, okay, deciding and pursuing public interest. So almost all the political parties are standing for public interest. Okay, whatever public interest, demand for the people or a demand of the people. That's what a public interest, demand of the people. So people, we want good roads. Okay, so which political party is standing with us or which political party is providing that for we people, we will give vote for them. Clear? We want a bridge, we want a good schools, we want good hospitals. Okay, clear or not? So which parties are able to provide such kind of things to we people or for the people, or they're standing along with the people, we will support them, right? Yes or no? That's what the history shows there. Okay, such kind of political parties are always able to make government. Okay, this is the route our leaders decided to take. So because of this, okay, because of this, the leaders of national movement, they decided to choose this path. What path? The path of democracy. Path of democracy. That also with not only one party, but with a multi-party, number of political parties. Clear? I already told you that different political parties have different, what is that? Programs and policies. Clear? What is the progress and policies or agendas of political parties? Okay, how can we recognize that? Which party is with the best agenda or best program? Are we able to recognize that? Hmm? Any ideas are there? So some parties are there. Example, leftist parties. Leftist parties like in Kerala, CPIM, CPI, CPIML, like that various parties are there. They are called to be leftist parties. Okay, following socialism and communism. Socialism and communism. Their main agenda or main program is upliftment of the poor. Upliftment of the poorer sections of the society is the main aim of the leftist parties. Leftist parties. Why leftist parties? Okay, the parties with such kind of vision, okay, the development of the poorer sections of the people or the proletarian class or the working class people, we will use the term what? Leftist parties. Leftist parties. Clear or not? Okay, the political party is basically giving support for liberal principles. I mean, capitalism, liberalism, globalization. Such kind of parties are basically termed as the rightist parties. Clear or not? Clear or not? Okay. Or some particular agenda will be there for in BJP. Hindutva is their agenda. Okay, their agenda or the party policy is Hindutva. Clear or not? So there's a rightist party. We can say that Hindutva agenda. Okay. Coming to the Congress party, their agenda is what is that? Uh, the same time, they wanted to support the capitalism and the socialism. Okay, they want to include everyone. So it is a centralist party. What is that? Centralist party. Not right, but not left. Okay, not a rightist party, not a leftist party. It is a centralistic party with centralistic ideas. Centralistic ideas. Is that clear or not? So different political parties have different programs and policies. Their ideologies are different. Okay, ideological differences we are able to find. Clear. So you are the supporter of a, you are a supporter, okay, of a leftist party, which means you are the supporter for the development of the poorer sections of the people. Clear? Clear? You're a supporter of BJP means you basically like the policy of Hindutva and rightist political philosophy. Okay, those who supporting liberalism, socialism, sorry, liberalism, capitalism, and globalization. Clear or not? So each and every party have their own ideas. Clear? That's what we can say that the party BJP, okay, they got that much help from the corporates. What do you mean corporates? The big business firms, the bigger business firms, right? Clear or not? What are they in India? The big business firms are like Reliance, okay, Adani Group, Ambani Group, okay, like that various groups are there. They even supported them. Clear. Even Congress party also received such kind of funds from these parties earlier because that's a centralist party. Okay, they want the development for the corporates and for the same time for the poorer sections of the society also. Clear? Clear or not? So we are able to recognize the political parties' ideas through their programs and policies. Programs and policies. Okay. So ideologies are there for each and every political party. It's called with the political ideology of a party or a philosophy of a party. Clear? Already we read about a number of philosophies. Clear? Political philosophies. Next one. Last year you studied how our constitution was drafted, right? We learned that. Okay. How the constitution was drafted. You would remember that the constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949 and signed on 24th January 1950, and it came to effect on 26th January 1950. At that time, the country was being ruled by an interim government. Okay, it was now necessary to install the first democratically elected government of the country. So interim government means the government that is not elected by the people. Okay. But for the administration, the national leaders, they created a government for the short period of time. Such governments are termed as interim governments. Okay. Interim governments. Okay. It was now necessary to install the first democratically elected government of the country. So as we studied earlier, we adopted our Indian constitution the year 1949, the day of 26th November. Okay. 26th November. Okay. The same time, 24th January 1950, it came into effect and sorry, it was signed on 24th January 1950 and came into effect on 26th January 1950. That time, the country ruled by an interim government. So they decided we want a first democratically elected government for the country. The constitution had laid down the rules. Now the machine had to be put in place. Okay, the constitution. Okay, in the constitution, we are able to see number of rules and regulations related with the contesting an election. Okay, clear or not? There are various rules and regulations are there. The procedure is not that much easy to understand. Easy to understand. Okay, so that much practices are necessary. And we are conducting the election for the first time also. Initially, it was thought that this was only a matter of few months The Election Commission of India was set up in the January 1950. So for conducting election in India, there is a commission set up by the government termed as the Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India. Okay, Sukumar Sen, underline, Sukumar Sen became the first Chief Election Commissioner of India. Sukumar Sen. Okay, first Election Commissioner of India. Who is the present Chief Election Commissioner of India? Any idea? And for Kerala? Kerala? Every day his name is coming to the newspaper. Okay, Tikaram Meena. Okay, so find it. Okay, I told the answer already. The country's first general elections were expected sometime in 1950 itself. Okay, so we started programs. Okay, and a number of activities to contest. Okay, the election in the year 1950 itself. Okay, but the election commission discovered that it was not going to be easy to hold a free and fair election in the country of a India size. So election commission was set up in the year 1950, and almost all the things, the rules and regulations that prepared in the constitution, everything is ready, but election commission, they find it, okay, it is very difficult to conduct election in a country like India. It's a large country. Okay, holding an election required delimitation of drawing the boundaries of electoral constituencies. Okay, so the delimitation or drawing the boundaries of electoral constituencies is important. Okay, perfectly we have to prepare the constituencies for the election, constituencies, special jurisdictions, special areas to contest in election. It also required preparing an electoral roll. You know what is an electoral roll? Electoral roll, it's a list of eligible voters, okay, from particular locality or a ward. Okay, in local self government election we can find that ward electoral rolls are there in your locality. Might be 1,000 or 1,500 people will be there, their name will be there on that electoral roll along with their photograph, along with their electoral ID card number, address, okay, house number, everything will be there on that roll. That is termed as electoral roll. At the time of election, before casting your vote, the officers will observe it, check it properly, and they will use an indelible ink in your finger there. I mean, okay, you are observed that? Maybe your parents will say that. You ask them, they will tell you the procedure to cast the vote. Okay, clear? When the first draft of the rules was published, first list, okay, of draft was published, it was discovered that the names of nearly 40 lakh women were not recorded in the list. Okay, nearly 40 lakh women's name is not recorded in the list, which means they were simply listed as wife of so and so or daughter of so and so. There is no names at all. Clear? So there is no identity revealed. So for election, it is not possible. Clear? Perfect identity is necessary for cast your votes there. The election commission refused to accept these entries and ordered a revision if possible and deletion if necessary. So the election commission ordered that this kind of electoral roll is not enough for contesting or conducting elections. So wanted to make a change or delete something if it is necessary. Preparing for the first general election was a mammoth exercise. We are using the term mammoth exercise means what? It's a Himalayan task, a huge or a great or a tiresome exercise. No election on this scale had ever been conducted in the world before. Clear? So in the history of the world, there is no record of such kind of elections that contested anywhere in the world even before. At that time, there were 17 crore eligible voters in India who had to elect about 3,200 MLAs, members for legislative assemblies, okay, for the state governments, and 489 members for Lok Sabha. Clear? 489 members for Lok Sabha. Only 15% of these eligible voters were literate. Another problem. Okay, out of the 17 crore, only 15% of voters are literate. Those who know to read and write. Clear? Therefore, the election commission had to think of some special method of voting. The election commission trained over 3 lakh officers and polling staff to conduct the elections. Okay, if you are any of your parents are working in government offices, or if they are government staffs, they are always going for this kind of election trainings there. Okay, cluster meetings will be there for them. Okay, definitely they are going for different places as electoral officers or polling officers. Clear? It was not just the size of the country and the electorate that made this election unusual. So just read up here. So understand what are the difficulties that faced by the government or interim government and the election commission to conduct the election. Come on, read fast. Okay. So these are the basic problems that faced by the election commission. Okay. One is related with the huge number of voters. Other is there is no perfect identities mentioned in the electoral rolls and the problem to prepare the electoral roll. Okay. Not only that, 15% of the people only literate. Others are illiterate. Clear? Clear. So it was not just the size of the country and the electorate that made this election unusual. The first general election was also the first big test of democracy in a poor and illiterate country. That was the real trouble here. The country, it was a poor one and it was an illiterate country, and all other world leaders are observing what is going on in India. Okay, even the Britishers also. Okay, they thought that okay, our country will collapse soon because the people are illiterate. Okay, a mechanism, administrative mechanism is not flourished that much or not that developed. Okay, the same time the country is so poor, almost all the wealth is drained. Okay, till then democracy had existed only in the purpose of prosperous countries. Okay, so till then democratical type of elections and governments that practiced only prosperous countries, developed countries, rich countries, mainly in Europe and North America. Europe and North America. Those countries, we know that. Okay. How after the French Revolution, after the unification of Germany, unification of Italy, okay, in England and in America, all these people experienced the number of revolutions and rebellions. After that, they started exercising or practicing democratical type of government. So those countries are rich too, clear. But in India, it is difficult. It is different. The conditions are different. The country is poor. The people are illiterate. Okay, where nearly everyone was illiterate. Okay, in such countries like in Europe and in North America, most of the people they are literate there. By that time, many countries in Europe had not given voting rights to all women. Another importance. Okay, most of the European countries not provided the right to vote for all women. Even in the time of the French Revolution or the Frankfurt Parliament in Germany, there is no voting right for women. In this context, India has experimented with the universal adult franchise. So, for the first election itself, we use the technique. What is that? Universal adult franchise. Can anyone tell me what is this universal adult franchise? We learned that earlier years, right? Okay, in junior classes, you might have heard about that. Universal adult franchise. So, right to vote for everyone, those who complete the age of 18 in India, right? Okay, so the new method that used by the government to contest or conduct election in India appeared very hard, bold and risky. So the use of universal adult franchise appeared very bold and risky. It's a bold movement from the government and it was a risky movement too. And Indian editor called it the biggest gamble in history. So editor of one Indian newspaper, he wrote that it is the biggest gamble, okay, a game of luck in the history. Game of luck in the history. Organizer, a magazine, wrote that Jawaharlal Nehru would leave to confess the failure of universal adult franchise in India. One another newspaper in another magazine they wrote Jawaharlal Nehru will pay, or he the person those who responsible for the failure of using of universal adult franchise in India. He will leave and he wanted to give answer. He's answerable for the use of universal adult franchise in the future, it seems. A British member of the Indian Civil Service claimed that a future and more enlightened age will view with the astonishment that observed force of recording the votes of millions of illiterate people. Okay, a future and more enlightened age will view, okay, the future and educated generation, the next generation will view, and they will surprise that, okay, and they will record that the votes of million of illiterate people, how that functioned to create a country. Okay, the election had to be postponed twice and finally held from October 1951 to February 1952. So number of times the elections postponed because of various reasons. Okay, various reasons and various challenges. Okay, so Life magazine, if you're observing, so there are a number of pictures are there related with the first election of India. Okay, so let me search it. I will show you. Give me 1 minute. So observe now. That visible?
Yes, sir.
It is visible for you. Okay, so you can see ballot boxes. So after casting the vote, we have to keep that vote in that particular box with that particular symbol. Clear? So you can see the different symbols of different political parties. Clear? Okay, it was the first elections method they utilized, they used. So millions of people, they participated in the election. So you can see the boxes with the different party symbols. Party symbols, almost all the parties are moving for campaigning with along with their symbols, party symbols. Okay, it was very difficult time for India to contest or conduct the first election. Okay, very difficult. It was a very difficult task in the history of elections. You can see numerous pictures, right? So this is what the use of indelible ink. Okay. So after casting the vote or before casting the vote, they will mark it. It is impossible to delete. That's what we use in the term indelible ink. Okay. So you can see that. Okay. So you know that today we are using EVM machine, right? Electronic voting machine, electronic voting machine. So if you go for the Life magazine's archives, you will get a number of good pictures related with the first election of India. So you can see the people carrying the old people to cast their vote. Okay, so come back. Okay, the elections had to be postponed twice and finally held from October 1951 to February 1952. But this election is referred as the 1952 election since most part of the country voted in January 1952. So the answer for the question, whenever the first election for India, okay, conducted, you can write the answer. It is January 1952. But the process is already started from 1951 October, but ended almost all the people in India, they voted in the year January 1952. So we can write the answer January 1952. It took 6 months for the campaigning. Okay. And this answer for a question, write a short note on the election process. Okay. Write a short note on the process of first election in India. Okay. It took 6 months for the campaigning, polling and counting to be completed. Elections were competitive. There were on an average more than 4 candidates for each seat. Okay. On an average, 4 candidates for each seat. The level of participation was encouraging. More than half of the eligible voters turned out to vote on the day of election. More than 8 crore people. When the results were declared, these were accepted as fair even by the losses. Okay, so everyone accepted the result. The Indian experiment had proved the critics wrong. The Times of India held that the polls have confounded all those skeptics who thought the introduction of adult franchise too risky and experiment in this history. So number of newspapers again wrote that. Okay, the comments that made by the world leaders, the Britishers, it was wrong. It was wrong, and India proved it is possible to use the adult franchise and the voting system in India. The Hindustan Times claimed that there is universal agreement that the Indian people have conducted themselves admirably in the largest extent in the democratic election in the history of the world. So these are one mark answers, the comment that made by various newspapers. Observers outside India were equally impressed. India's general election of 1952 became a landmark in the history of democracy all over the world. It was no longer possible to argue that democratic election could not be held in conditions of poverty or lack of education. So this election proved that. Okay, we are able to conduct elections. Okay, at the time or at the condition of poverty or lack of education. It proved that democracy could be practiced anywhere in the world, and Indian election that proved that democracy can be practiced anywhere in the world, Okay, so hope you got those things there. So write the question. I hope you wrote the question already. Write a short note on the first process of election in India. Okay, next one. Write about the various comments that made by the write about the various comments that related with the use of universal adult franchise, universal adult franchise. Next question: how the world celebrated the victory of Indian democratic elections or democratic elections in India. So write the comments that made with the various people. Clear? Second question also like that only. Made the write the comments that made by different people.
So can you
Okay.
repeat the last question?
How the world celebrated the victory of democratic elections in India. How the world celebrated the victory of the democratic elections in India. Celebrated or admire. Okay, next one. Next question. So what are the problems or what were the problem that faced by the election commission to conduct the first election? What were the problems that faced by the election commission to conduct the first election? Okay, and this is a cartoon for you people at page number 28. Okay, what this cartoon says? Here, all the important leaders of International Congress are sitting here. Okay, so that is called to be the International Congress election committee, and just below them, observe that there are a number of people are standing. They are pleading and they are asking or demanding for seats to participate in election. Clear? Clear? Okay, that's the meaning of that cartoon. So the cartoonist impression of the election committee formed by the Congress to choose party candidates in 1951. On the committee, besides Nehru, Morarji Desai, Rafi Ahmad Kiwadi, Dr. B.C. Roy, Kamraj Nadar, Rajagopal Achari, Jagjeevan Ram, Maulana Azad, D.P. Mishra, P.D. Tandon, and Govind Bhallapat Pant. Okay, these are the people sitting along with Jawaharlal Nehru to decide the candidates for the first general elections in India. So today also the Congress party facing the same problem, right? Okay, so the number of people they will plead for the seats there, and Congress party is unable to give seats for everyone. So number of leaders will jump from Congress party to the next possible restoration point. What is that? BJP or CPM. Okay, that's a common thing that what we are able to observe. So now there is a work for you people, page number 29. Okay, what is this? The changing methods of voting. Today we know that India is the largest democratic country, although the only country that using a voting machine for conducting elections, electronic voting machines, EVMs. Okay, so number of allegations are there, number of observations are there against the use of the electronic voting machine also. Yes, yes or no? Okay, you heard a number of such kind of things there, right? Okay, so read it, underline it. Now we'll read. These days, we use an electronic voting machine (EVM) to record voters' preferences. But that is not how we started. In the first general election, it was decided to place inside each polling booth a box of each candidate, which is the election symbol of the candidate. Clear? I already showed you, right? The different boxes with the different symbols. So the voters want to drop the vote in that particular box. Clear? And finally, they count how many votes are in the one box. Okay. And related with the majority number, they will fix the winning candidate, or the winner. Okay, but today the system is not like that. It is very secret, right? Today's election is very secret ballot. It is very secret. We are unable to understand for whom the other person casted his vote. Okay, each voter was given a blank ballot paper which they had to drop into the box of the candidate they wanted to vote for. Okay, about 20 lakh steel boxes were used for this purpose. A presiding officer from Punjab described how he prepared the ballot boxes. Each box had to have its candidate symbol, both inside and outside it. And inside and either side had to be displayed the name of the candidates in Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi. It's a report or comment that made by a Punjabi officer, polling officer. So used Hindi, Urdu, and Punjabi along with the number of the constituency. So this many detail will be there on the ballot box. The polling station and the polling booth. The name of the constituency, number of the constituency, number of the polling station, number of the polling booth, the paper seal with the numerical description of the candidate. Okay, numbers will be there for each candidate. The numerical description also will be there on the box, signed by the presiding officer. Finally, it should be signed by the presiding officer, had to be inserted in the token frame, and its window closed by its door, which had to be fixed in its place at the other end by means of a wire. Okay, so they will seal that with a wire. All this had to be done on the day previous to the one fixing for polling. To fix symbols and labels, the boxes had first to be rubbed with a sandpaper or a piece of brick. I found that it took about 5 hours for 6 persons, including my 2 daughters, to complete this work. All this was done at my house. Okay, so the officer says that all these activities to conduct the election, he himself, along with the help of his family members, he completed the task. Okay, after the first 2 elections, this method was changed. Now the ballot paper carried the names of symbols. Okay, we can see the sample of the ballot paper used from the 3rd to the 13th general elections of Lok Sabha. Okay, this was the ballot paper. Here we will give the we will stamp. Okay, against the symbol of that particular candidate, or they will give a stamp for you people, and we can stamp against the symbol of the candidate. That will count as a vote. Clear. Okay, after the first election, they used this method, different ballot boxes, and later they used ballot paper with the different symbols. After the 2 elections, this method was changed. Now the ballot paper carried the names and symbols of all candidates, and the voters was required to put a stamp on the name of the candidate they wanted to vote for. This method worked for nearly 40 years. Toward the end of the 1990s, the Election Commission started using EVM. By 2004, the entire country had shifted to EVM, electronic voting machine. So BJP is the party now. They are carrying the bad name for using this EVM. Okay, so number of people they're commenting that if in New Zealand they are contesting election, vote will go for BJP party, it seems, because they are hacking the EVMs. Okay, allegations. We don't know the reality behind that. Right. Okay. So let it be. So we are not technical experts to say so. It is hacked or number of other activities are there related with that or something like that. We are not thinking about that set. So we are just understand nowadays we are using EVM, electronic voting machines, for conducting elections in India. Clear? Okay, so write the answers of the questions that we wrote here already, and read the textbook properly and understand the meaning of these terms properly. Find out the new words and learn it. Okay, clear? Okay, guys, we will meet in the next class. Thank you. And prepare for the examination also. Okay. Anyway, I am not going to conduct a surprise test for you people. Test will be there on Tuesday and on Wednesday also for you people. I mean, for humanities batch. Okay. Tuesday economics test will be there, and Wednesday political science test will be there, right? So prepare for it. Okay, everyone. Thank you.